Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Ash and I'm here with a review of the Texas Chain Saw Massacre on Xbox. Now this was released on the 18th of August 2023, developed by Sumo Digital Nottingham and published by Gun Interactive. And I was lucky enough to be sent a copy of the game to do this video review, so big thank you to them for that. Now, this is a third-person asymmetrical horror game based on the iconic 1970s horror film Texas Chain Saw Massacre, if you hadn't guessed that from the title. Now, I don't know if you've watched it. It's about 50 years old almost, and it's a really cool horror film. It's had so many sequels and reboots and stuff nowadays. I have only seen the original, I think, once, and I have watched the more modern remakes and stuff like that. Whether that's a good thing or not is down for debate. But I was so looking forward to this as soon as they announced it because I am a big fan, big lover of Gun Interactive's previous game, Friday the 13th, which is basically another asymmetrical horror experience, very similar to this. However, due to licensing issues out of their control to do with whoever owns the Friday the 13th IP, that game sort of got put out to pasture before its time. However, Gun Interactive have come back with an awesome Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, and I wasn't disappointed. Now, they're working with the IP owner, so there shouldn't be any issues with this going forward either, which is great. In this game, you'll play as either a victim or one of the family, like a killer. And depending on what you play, depends on exactly what you've got to do in the game. If you're a victim, you've got to sort of stealthily sneak your way out of the environment you're in, find tools to help you get to your freedom, avoid traps and killers, and eventually escape. Now, if you're playing as the Slaughter family, you have to track down and hunt these victims, set traps for them, and basically make sure they don't make it out alive. And it's so good. Like, I love the Friday the 13th game. However, it wasn't the best in some aspects. It was a little janky, a little ropey. Some of the animations and the 3D models weren't particularly great. However, in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the animations and stuff like that look fantastic. The environments are very detailed, whether it be because of like the macabre sort of hanging bodies and stuff like that, or the lush sort of vegetation in the external environments. Now, there are a whole host of different things in this game that you may or may not realize. So, this isn't a one killer versus many people. This is a 3 versus 4. So, there's 3 people playing it as the family, the killers, and 4 people playing as the victims. Now, the difference between them is massive. So, like, the killers can sort of work together more, I find, to sort of block the victims into certain areas, whereas some of the victims, obviously, some of the killers can't go through certain areas if a victim passes through, and victims can block areas off and stuff like that. But depending on which killer you use, I was quite fond of the woman because she could slip through the thinner cracks where the male killers couldn't. So you can sort of hunt people down who really don't expect it most of the time, because everyone goes for Leatherface, and I know that, but I just wanted to try something different. And playing it as a victim, oh my god, the amount of jump scares where someone's just like, I've walked around a corner and suddenly Leatherface has just popped out, and I have literally crapped my britches. It's crazy. It's funny. It's keeps you on your toes. The audio in the game is always like on par. It's pounding and stuff like that, and makes you think something's always around every corner. And when the stakes sort of ramp up, the soundtrack ramps up as well. Now, it's not perfect. There are only currently 3 environments. So you have the family house, the gas station, and the slaughterhouse. Now, they can all be played in night or day cycles, which is nice. So you get in sort of like a slight variety to it. But I must admit, I hope there's more added in the future. Now, obviously, having things based on Friday the 13th you had the big camp, which was a lot bigger. These maps are much smaller. You can't drive the vehicles or anything like that you can in some of these other asymmetrical horror games, which is a shame, but it's the way the maps are designed and the game's designed, so it's much more on foot. Now, there is another thing that affects the gameplay, which is Grandpa. Now, Grandpa is like a very old member of the family. He's asleep until people make enough noise, like the victims make enough noise, or you feed him enough blood. Now, there are these blood bags littered all around the maps. You fill up vials and you fill Grandpa. And basically, the higher you raise his blood level with this blood, he gets a special buff for killers, which sort of every now and again reveals the location of victims on the screen so you can sort of see their outline in the distance and stuff like that. Obviously, the more you build him up, the better that is, and eventually you'll end up with a sort of permanent buff. But by that point, it's sort of heading towards end game. Now, this game is also very gory. Once you start chopping people up, you're stabbing them, you're shanking them, and stuff like that, it is full of blood, and I love it. It's not trying to hide it. It's definitely aimed at the core sort of players and lovers of this franchise. Now, one other thing you can do, there are stat trees and stat points and skill trees, should I say. So at the end of each match, you'll get experience points depending on what's happened and what's been done. These experience points can then be used to upgrade your levels, and you can purchase different perks for your killers and your victims. These can give you like more stamina and stuff like that, meaning after a while you can then hit multiple attacks as a killer and stuff like that without sort of having to sort of cool down. And overall, it just makes it more fun. Like, it gives you a reason to work and replay levels and keep playing and building up your characters, especially if you focus on, say, one killer and one victim at a time. Now, it's not all sunshine and roses, unfortunately. The wait times can be quite long. We played this on launch day, and sometimes we were waiting ages for people to join the party, and other times everyone will join the party but just not ready up, which takes for ages, and you end up having to wait like 5 minutes between each game just to count the timer down, which is absolutely frustrating. Also, not a huge issue, but an issue nonetheless. There is an Xbox One version of this game, and there is a next-gen Xbox Series X and S version of this game. However, if someone's playing on Xbox One, they cannot play with someone who's playing on Xbox Series X and S versions. I don't know why. I assume it's just for load times and stuff like that. Maybe the environments are lusher on the next-gen version, so it would put you at an unfair advantage if you were playing on the last-gen ones. But we tried to play with someone in the party who didn't have a next-gen like console, and we weren't able to do that, which sucks, unfortunately, especially when you need more players to do private matches. Now, like I say, this is 7-player online co-op. There's no offline play. There's also no tutorial mode, which is a shame. You just have a selection of videos which tell you what to do, basically, which isn't the end of the world. But I liked how the Friday the 13th game had like a single player mode, and also like the Evil Dead game that's not exactly the same as this, but a similar style, has single player missions and stuff like that. Now, that's not to say these things won't come to this game in the future, but it's worth noting that they're not available at the moment. It's just online. You either play victim, you play the murderer family, or you play quick match, and you'll be given one or the other. You don't have a choice, basically. You just put into a random match. I really love this game. I think it's great. It plays well. It looks great. The abilities, once you get used to them, are really fun. And I do think some of the killers are more interesting than others, especially the fact that none of them can sprint. It's all like they've all got like broken kneecaps or ankles or something, and none of them can sprint. Makes me laugh, but they're all just sort of like waddle along after the victims. But it would be really unfair if everyone was sprinting around everywhere, and I understand why that's not the case. For the victims, I also think they're quite powerful in this game compared to some of the other games I've played. Now, there's no weapons as such. You can't pick up like guns or anything like that to fight off the killers, but they do have some abilities where they can push them back and stuff like that to sort of keep their distance. Overall, really fun game. Really looking forward to what the future holds for it. Like I say, it's a solid start, a solid basis, but I just hope there's content added as this game goes on. Now, there's already a free Texas Chainsaw Skins pack, which is great. However, they have also added an execution pack, which is one new execution animation for each of the killers, and it's priced at £5.79. And I think that's a bit shocking for just death animations. We will see. I'm all for supporting games and keeping content going, but for me, I feel like £6 nearly for one animation per character, it's not even new costumes or anything like that, is a little overpriced. But we'll keep an eye out on that as it progresses. Now the game's priced at $33.49, and it's also in Xbox Game Pass as well. So it's definitely worth jumping in now while it's in Game Pass, and there's loads of players there because you can easily get matches. You just have to wait that little bit for them to start. It does support smart delivery. It's up to 4K resolution as well, and it's optimized for Series X and S, and it supports Dolby Atmos as well, which is great because the soundtrack on it is fantastic. And they've also tried to keep it as close to the original movies, like with the sounds and the chainsaw sounds and like Leatherface's grumbles and stuff like that, and what the killers sound like as possible. And it really does sound absolutely fantastic. But that's that for this video review, guys. If you want to see what we played, like what you're seeing on screen now is footage from when we did our live stream. If you want to watch the full thing, you can find it on our YouTube channel under our live stream playlist. Check it out. We played for a couple of hours. I've played more since then, and I am absolutely loving this and can't wait to play more of it. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll see you soon for more content. Bye for now.